DJ Ferris.
The Chicago, nigga.
It's the real one.
Hit me.
Only one is pulling shit the fuck up.
Let's get a sports talk.
Raiders fear this tandem of Brady and Gronk in Tampa.
No, I don't think they should. I think whoever Diana was talking to was probably right. Now, it's not to say that this tandem hasn't been great over history. I think most people agree Rob Gronkowski is the best tight end in the history of football. But he was kind of falling apart. Like, his body was breaking down at the end of his career, and then he took a year off. I understand that some people could frame that year off as a year to rest and recover, but it's also a year away from the game. It's hard to just drop back in a game, particularly in this unique offseason where you aren't getting the same preparation that you normally would have. And I think that offense is not going to be built around Rob Gronkowski in the way that the Patriots offense utilized his ability to pass, his ability to block and run routes and get open. They have other playmakers. They have two other Pro Bowl caliber receivers in Evans and Godwin. I think those guys are people that you should fear before you get to Gronkowski.
Anyone gonna fear that offense because of the weapons that they have around Tom Brady. They have Godwin, they have Evans, they have Howard, they have Ron Gronkowski. So it's going to be a fear against defense because you don't know who to cover because he got targets here and here. So you don't know who you could really cover like that. And Gronk had that year off to be able to recover because you've seen him in his last year that he was breaking down a little bit. He needed that year to recover. Now that he had that year to recover, he might look at a new, refreshed Ron Gronkowski. They always put fear in defense. When they was in New England, they already know what they try to do. Double team Ron Gronkowski. Yeah, he got O.J. Howard next to him, but teams still going to be like that. They going to still want to double team Ron Gronkowski. That's going to open up everything for O.J. Howard.
And then you got O.J. Howard, who hasn't quite lived up to his draft status yet. But with a quarterback like Tom Brady, it's possible that O.J. Howard at tight end could be a even more impressive pass-catching option than Rob Gronkowski. So not to say that Rob Gronkowski is going to be bad, but I think it would be wishful thinking to expect him to be above average to the point that he was before. So I think he'll probably be slightly above average, but it's not enough for defensive coordinators to scheme around and be concerned about. I know you got to disagree, Mina.
I do disagree. I don't entirely disagree because I agree. Chris Godwin, to me, is the most important player in this offense for Tom Brady in particular. If you build a receiver in a lab for Tom Brady, it would be him. But I think we're going to see a different Rob Gronkowski. I think we're going to see a different Tom Brady. I remember Gronk's last season. I remember going into the locker room after they won that Super Bowl and seeing how banged up he was. Just him being healthy means he'll be a different player, but he's also going to benefit from focus being pulled off of him, Dominique, as a pass catcher. Bruce Arians has come out and said they're going to run a lot more 12, more 2 tight end sets. So you're looking at Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, and O.J. Howard. Oh, and if you want a little 13, throw Bright into the mix. That is an insane skill group. And when you have that many talented players on the field, when you have Mike Evans, who's...
Yes, when you have Mike Evans on the outside, that is a mismatch to any corner that's on the field. That's pickings for Tom Brady. He could pick and choose who he want to go to. So he got targets around him, and that's exactly what he wants. He wants this type of talent around him. It's going to make him look very good. Even though he been in the league for 20 years and has 6 Super Bowls, it still look good with less. Now he have more. He got so many toys that he could pick and choose what he want to do. That offense alone is going to put fear on the other side of the football. Tom Brady had the options to go to. It's still fear from Gronkowski. You might don't look at it as, but he don't have to do as much. Gronkowski don't have to do a whole lot because you have another good tight end right on the side of you. So he don't have to worry about trying to do a whole lot of things. It's going to be easy on him too.
One of the biggest focus pullers in the NFL because he's such a deep threat. Those guys are going to be open. right? I think this offense is going to be absolutely dominant, and I think Gronkowski is going to look a lot better than he did his final season.
Yeah, I think this, the level of fear that defensive coordinators are going to feel is all going to be contingent upon and relative to what exactly does Rob look like from a physical perspective, right? And we don't really know. We don't know if that year off really has benefited him or not. If he's going to wind up looking much better than he did a couple of years ago, or if he's going to look like a guy who's kind of lost it and he's really trending downward. Now, let's just assume that he is, 85 to 90% of what he once was physically, and he's felt a lot better. From a matchup perspective, he is without a doubt going to benefit from having the other weapons that he has on this football field. And when you think about it, Dom, you know this.
See what I'm saying? He's going to benefit from it because it's not all on him. He had other weapons beside him to be able to take all the things off of him. If he didn't feel like he couldn't play anymore, he wouldn't have came back. They already probably had this in the making already. He probably already done tried out with this team, and it's something they saw in Ron Gronkowski to make him an offer to come to Tampa. Because we know he wasn't going back to New England because Tom Brady ain't there. Tom Brady there, look what happened. You land another weapon. You already had a big three there already. Now you add on a fourth member. So he's going to benefit a whole lot from all the other guys on that offense.
With the kind of guys that they have in there on the perimeter with Godwin and Evans, teams are going to play too high. They're not going to play single high. They're going to back off and make sure that they don't get the ball thrown over top of their head. So Tom's going to have to prove he can throw the ball deep. And what that means is in that 15 to 20-yard area in the middle of the field between the numbers, and specifically like right where the hashes are, Gronk's going to feast. He's going to feast in 11 personnel. He's going to feast in 21 personnel when they're in base. And Mina, you're right. You're on to something here. If they go 13 personnel and they put 3 tight ends out on the field and 1 wide receiver, and teams are thinking, well, they're going to run the football, so we're going to go with a little bit bigger personnel, and then they spread you out because all these guys are athletic and Gronk has one-on-ones. Assuming, again, that athletically he is 80 to 90% of what he once was, he's going to kill people. He just is. And down in the red area, you know they're going to throw the football to him. It's just a matter of we don't know what he's going to look like. We don't know how quickly this offense is going to get in the sync. But if all those things line up, you may not fear him now because you just don't know what he's going to be. But if all these things line up, you will respect him later. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think the 13 personnel option that you guys bring up is maybe a little bit too deep football stuff, but that is terrifying to think of having.
It is terrifying because this offense is going to be a lot dangerous once they click. Once they hit on all cylinders, you're going to fear that offense. Gronkowski been out a whole year. Trust me. They ain't got to wait to get on the field to fear him. When you look at the tape, what he did in New England before his last year and all that, you still going to fear him and still going to respect him. Teams don't still try to keep him from getting the football. And once teams try to take him away, you got 3 other guys that he could go to. That's the luxury of having the weapons on your side. Because he's still going to put fear in them linebackers and the slot corners. He's still going to put the fear in them.
All 3 of those guys with the ability to block at the tight end position and then spread out and attack, like that is a scary proposition. Yeah. But the hard thing about that is you only have room for 1 receiver on the field, and you have 2 high caliber receivers. Right. One's going to have to sit on the bench. So the reason I think we all aren't disagreeing that much, like I think Gronk will be in a good position. However, I don't think they should be scared of Gronk because they should be scared of everybody else. Like Gronk is 3rd on the list in my mind of people that you should be worried about. Yeah. If I'm a defensive coordinator, you can only scheme to stop a few things. Go ahead, Mina.
The point is he's going to be wide open. Listen to me and Lewis on that, right? Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have such incredibly complementary skills. Chris Godwin, he can do it all. I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He is going to be useful in the flat, on the screens. He can block. He can get separation. Tom Brady, we haven't talked about that part of the Brady-Gronk threat, the fact that Tom Brady was also not himself last season. He was playing with the slowest group of wide receivers in the NFL last year. They did not.
Yes, they did not separate. They did not take the top off of defenses. He was looking for that deep threat. He having the Chris Godwin and Evans. He had an awkward season last season with New England. It was still an okay year for him, but he going to benefit from this season because of the complementary that he have around him this season. People ain't talking about how the season he had last year with New England. You had the slowest wide receivers, and then you come figure out who is your go-to besides the element outside of him. You were looking for an outside threat, and you have that in Tampa Bay now.
Separate. Now you are putting him in offense with receivers who are going to be wide open, including Rob Gronkowski. And by the way, I love hearing Bruce Arians say we're going to run more 12, because you know what that tells me? He is going to adjust. He is already thinking of ways to adjust his offense to Tom Brady's skill set, because that is not the offense they ran last year. They're going to meet in the middle, and I think it's going to be terrifying.
Yeah, guys, remember when some people thought that Brady wouldn't go to the Bucs because they said, well, that offense doesn't really match with what Tom Brady wants to do? Yeah, they forgot that Bruce Arians can change his offense to fit what Brady does well. I want to follow up with something because I do think you disagree here and want to get Lewis's take on this as well. We'll start with you, Dominique. Do you think that the Bucs make the playoffs?
I think they make the playoffs in part because of the extra team is going to get in the playoffs this year. I think they're going to.
Yes, I believe they're going to make the playoffs this year. They're going to make the playoffs this year because they have a good defense to go along with that good offense. Only weakness they have on that offense is the offensive line. But Tom Brady's a smart enough quarterback that's been in this league for 20 years, know not to hold the football for so many time, for a long time. He one of those guys that he throwaways 30 last year. Like, he know what to do. If it ain't there, I'm gonna throw it away. But the way his offense is set up, it's gonna be someone open because of the weapons he have. He's gonna get it. He gonna get it out before the defense get to him. Like, he's not gonna sit there and hold the football. And he know the offensive line ain't that strong. But he's going to figure out a way to adjust that. And Bruce Arians, yes, he in a different offense, but you know he's going to adjust to mixing it up together. Put something in the pot and mix it together. Mix his plays with his plays. They're going to come here together, put everything together like a new meal. And so he could be able to have some of his plays that he ran in New England and some of Aaron's plays mixed together. That's what they're going to do. They're going to meet in the middle together to put this together. They're not just going to run his offense. He's going to run some of Tom Brady's offense that complement him.
Your wild card team. They're not going to beat the Saints. The Saints are going to win that division. And Mina and I have talked about this a bunch off air. The Saints are loaded. As long as there is no unforeseen circumstances that could upset or divide that locker room, that is one of the best teams in football. They don't have any holes anywhere. So it's going to be tough for them to win the division, especially since we've seen what the Saints have done, and they've done it year after year after year. We still have never seen the Bucs come on the field and do what we all know they have the ability to do.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube.